Hello and welcome into another edition of the PHNX D-Backs podcast right here on PHNX. My name is Derek Montilla. Of course, I am your mayor of Putting Town, which is what Putting World actually is.
Did you do better than me?
I think I did. I killed it out there.
Were you like at par, above par?
I was four after 18 holes. I was 4 strokes above par.
Ooh, see, I was 1 stroke above par,
No,
I
you
believe,
weren't. That's
after
impossible.
10 holes.
There's no way.
Which I didn't have enough time to finish, but if you extrapolate that over 18, I do believe that makes it clear that I am a better putter than you.
Okay, if this is Jesse Friedman, a blatant liar, by the way. Also, Thunderstick and my vice mayor. I'm going to bust you down to deputy mayor here soon enough. But
I am incredibly bad at golf, but I can hold my own at putting.
I'll tell you, that place was a blast. It was absolutely a blast. I thought it was going to be more of a miniature putt place, and I even poked fun at Saul for bringing his own putter, and he ended up being very on point with that idea, because you definitely needed your own putter. But of course, we thank you guys for being here, whether you're a diehard, whether you're not a diehard. If you're not a diehard, make sure to join us over at gophnx.com. Of course, you'll get all sorts of wonderful benefits, including joining our Discord lounge, which is the best place to be an Arizona sports fan. All sorts of exclusive content for diehards only over there, as well as, of course, that free t-shirt you get for being a diehard over at the PHNX locker. But we welcome you guys in because we are very excited. We do have that shirt in our locker that says "We are fucking dangerous," and of course, the man that coined that phrase is none other than our very own Torey Lovullo, who is not going anywhere, folks. Torey Lovullo has been extended now through the 2026 season, according to Nick Picoro and Steve Gilbert, and this is very exciting news. Because Torey was obviously such a big part of the reason why this team made it as far as they did. And I know so many of his players, specifically Evan Longoria, who really went to bat for him about the whole NL Manager of the Year thing, which we'll get to here shortly. Oh, it's right there. There he is. Yeah. Torey was, even though he was extended by the Diamondbacks, he is not a National League Manager of the Year finalist, which is a little surprising. And again, we'll get into that. But Evan Longoria, for sure, not happy here with his Instagram post that says whoever votes for Manager of the Year missed big on this one, with an adorable picture of Torey smiling for those of you listening on the audio side that can't see it. He said, "And how? This is the NL Manager of the Year, and it really shouldn't even be close. What a joke." And then he added MLB and D-backs and Baseball Writers Association in America, and he just did a bunch of hashtags.
He used hashtag Baseball Writers Association.
He's mad.
America.
You know he's mad because that's a lot to write out, right? You're fucking mad when you don't write BBWAA, right? He went for the whole name.
I nearly voted for Manager of the Year, but I wound up voting for Rookie of the Year instead. So my hands are clean in this matter.
No blame over here. But I definitely understand there's a case to be made that he obviously the regular season didn't go the way that they wished it would have as far as their record goes. We know about the collapse that we refer to as the dark times on this show, but we also know that this team went from a 110 loss team just a few seasons ago to being now a playoff team. And we know what they did once they got in the playoffs, but I understand that's not part of the voting because that's done before that point, right?
Yeah. It's a regular season award, which maybe it shouldn't be. I mean, I guess there's maybe a case to be made there,
because it's crazy. I mean, the performance in the playoffs is still feels like a huge part of managing.
Yeah. You could make a case that this is an award that really should be factoring in, the fact that Torey Lovullo helped the Diamondbacks get all the way to the World Series, and
correct.
That is not at all factored in because my understanding is these ballots are all cast before the playoffs even start. Torey Lovullo probably should have been one of those finalists, right?
Should have been another one of these. This is Torey Lovullo, Manager of the Year bobblehead with his arms up in the air like
there you
that.
Go.
We needed another one of those. Maybe him spewing F-bombs through a little button you press. I don't know. I'm just saying, I would love to have that speech recorded and maybe bleeped, but still on there as a recording. That would be great.
It was interesting who the other finalists were.
It was Craig Counsell, who has been the target of a lot of hate.
Yeah, Chicago Cubs manager Craig Counsell did win the Manager of the Year award.
Brewers fans are mad, guys. Brewers fans. When I made that comparison yesterday that people wanted me fired for, rightfully so, I really didn't know. I didn't think it was that bad. But from Brewers tweets, from things I've seen on thebigx.com, they're mad. Like, they have said that Craig Counsell is now like the most hated man in Milwaukee sports, and I know that might be a little bit hyperbole right now, but I mean that's how they feel right now about him going to the Cubs.
I mean, it came down to the money, right? I mean, it seems pretty clear to me. I mean, I'm not having all of these inside conversations regarding this, but it seems to me that if the Milwaukee Brewers had come out and beat this offer from the Chicago Cubs, Craig Counsell probably would have been happy to return. But the Milwaukee Brewers don't have access to the kind of money that the Chicago Cubs do. And hence, Craig Counsell is now manager of the Chicago Cubs. We're here to talk about Torey Lovullo.
Yeah, we are. Why are we doing this? Oh, well, if we're getting off track, I want to say I'm very excited to announce that I've accepted a qualifying offer from PHNX. So I'm not.
You got the qualifying offer.
I got the qualifying offer.
Darn it.
Did you not get the qualifying offer?
No, I didn't get the qualifying offer this year. No.
Did you go with Boris? No?
At least
I tried to get Boris to sign me. What?
At least we'll get a pick back when Derek leaves.
Correct. But
yeah, they did it knowing that Derek was going to reject the qualifying offer, and they really just wanted a draft pick.
I'm just out here for the money, folks.
That's
all I'm here for.
Nothing,
once a pro wrestling podcast wants to pay me more, I'm out of here. No, that is a joke because I will not deal with those fans. I will say this, though. Torey Lovullo being extended through 2026. Fantastic news. Torey Lovullo being snubbed for Manager of the Year. Not so fantastic. Like you were saying, Craig Counsell, one of the candidates that is questionable as far as, having one of the best pitching staffs and doing what they did. I mean, they weren't exactly an electric team that lit the league on fire by any stretch of the imagination, but they did win their division, which is what it wasn't easy considering the way things were in that Central.
Yeah, I mean, there's a reason that Craig Counsell just became the highest, as Cogs is saying, the highest paid manager in baseball history. I think Joe Torre might have made about $8 million a year at one point. So I'm not sure if the annual value is the highest ever, but yeah, at least right now, Craig Counsell is making more money than any other major league manager by a wide margin. I think I saw that the next highest was $4.5 million or something like that when Craig Counsell just signed for $8 million. But yeah, I think he absolutely deserves a ton of credit. There's a reason that the Cubs, made this investment in him. And the Milwaukee Brewers, if you go back to maybe what we were saying about the Brewers coming into this season, the Brewers were not necessarily expected to go run away with the NL Central by a pretty wide margin. And yet that's kind of what happened when all was said and done, right?
Yeah.
The Chicago Cubs finished well behind the Milwaukee Brewers in the NL Central, and the Brewers, I mean, there were points in the season where it looked like things were going to kind of slip away from them, and it just never happened. The Brewers were able to finish the deal and win 91 games with a roster that I think some people had overlooked. So Craig Counsell, I think, makes sense. Brian Snitker had a really, really talented Atlanta Braves roster. Yeah. And again, I think Brian Snitker is probably a great manager, and we've talked about it on the show a bunch of times where I think the Manager of the Year award is really dumb, and there's no way for us as writers to really have an idea of how good each of these guys are at doing the little day-to-day things that are so important.
Let me say this. It's managing, though, right? So in some cases, teams that have an incredible roster like the Braves and they win 100+ games, I hate to say this, but when you do assemble a roster like that, that's more of a front office GM award maybe, and maybe the manager doesn't deserve as much credit for when they succeed, especially if they fall apart in the playoffs, which I think is another reason why that the playoffs should be taken into consideration if you are going to give this award out to a Manager of the Year, because managing through the playoffs is even more critical than the 162 regular game season. I will say this, though. If you're going to give it to a team that won 100+ games, they're going to fire me again, Jesse. But why not Dave Roberts, that actually had a ton of hurdles to overcome and still was able to get that team to 100 plus wins, right?
No, I agree.
I don't even think Dave Roberts is a good manager at times, but if there was a year where he deserved credit for getting his team back there to the mountaintop and being as good as they've always been over the last 10-year stretch, it's Dave Roberts, because that team absolutely fell apart. You lost your number one starting pitcher. You lost guys left and right. You had to call up rookies. You had to get them, adjusted to the league, all of that. But I mean, again, there's just something about the fact that people discredit Torey from being a finalist here due to the fact that this team only won 84 games. And I think, if I'm being honest, it's that stretch that we just talked about, the historically bad stretch that when you talked about being 16 games above 500 down to 2 below, there were only teams that were from the 1800s that you've never even heard of in the same consideration for collapses as far as that was concerned. But I don't know. I do think obviously the Marlins manager deserves all the credit for what he did.
Schumacher,
Schumacher is the guy.
Yeah, the Marlins, like we talked about the other day, the Marlins' expectations coming into the year might have even been lower than the Diamondbacks, and that's ultimately what this award seems to come down to year after year, is just who outperformed the expectations the most. If we are operating within that pretty flawed paradigm, which I guess we have to, then I think Torey Lovullo probably deserves to be one of the top 3 guys. The fact that the Diamondbacks made the postseason and have turned things around so dramatically over the last couple of years, you could make a pretty good case that Torey Lovullo should have at least been on this list, even if he didn't win the award. But yeah, he got he got rewarded in another sense yesterday with the extension. The Diamondbacks are keeping Torey Lovullo around through 2026, something that we said on the show yesterday that was completely inevitable. We knew that Torey Lovullo was going to be extended.
I demanded
this
they made it a priority, in fact.
before too long, and sure enough, it happens yesterday. We don't know any of the financial terms there. Yeah. I do kind of wonder if Craig Counsell getting $8 million a year, and the fact that Torey Lovullo, his team kind of ran over Craig Counsell's team in the wild card series. Okay, well, if he's getting $8 million, then I gotta. That's not how it works. I mean, Craig Counsell has arguably the best reputation of any manager in the sport for a reason. But yeah, it'd be interesting to know what those numbers look like for Torey.
If I'm being honest, I think that when we do find out the numbers, I'm probably not going to be surprised to see Torey take less money than he probably deserves, than the market deemed, right? Because even though he got his team to the World Series, I can imagine that based on his bond with Mike Hazen, that there is somewhat of a just wanting to stay here. Torey said in the past he wants to, be a Diamondback for the rest of his career, is what he has said. He said he has no control over that, right, when in the grand scheme of things, but he wants to stay here for the rest of his career. This is a man that, for his general manager, he made the promise to his wife, who passed away, that he would put up Christmas lights every year. And to the point where Hazen and Torey had a discussion about just leaving them up. Torey made sure they were all wired properly and the lights went on and off.
They added a timer, right?
They added a timer.
Yep.
And then I believe Mike actually turn the lights on all the time and just leaves them on all the time now, which you just can't. That's just a small example of the relationship these two have, but
the Hazens are those neighbors now.
Yeah, that just have lights 24/7 lights, 24/7 lights. But I mean, come on, Torey. The one thing, the only problem I have here is just 2 years. Torey, I think, deserves at this point more, but I understand it. And Torey is a performance-based guy himself, so I'm sure he is of the mindset that this is fair. Just as far as keeping him near now through the 2026 season and giving him that opportunity to continue to work specifically with this group of guys, including Merrill Kelly and Zach Gallen, who will be here during that tenure.
Yeah, it is interesting that, we know that when Torey was extended for just to next season earlier in the year, that part of the logic there was getting his deal basically lined up with Mike Hazen's. Yeah. And this extension doesn't accomplish that. Mike Hazen, according to reports, his extension that he signed about a month ago goes through 2028 with a club option for 2029. Yeah. Torey Lovullo just out through 2026. I think there's maybe a couple different things at play there. Number one, Mike Hazen had oodles of leverage at the time, given the fact that the Boston Red Sox had an opening and seemed to be expressing interest. And from the conversations that I've had, it very much seems like that was legitimate, that the Boston Red Sox did make some sort of a run at Mike Hazen, and he might have been able to take that job if he'd wanted it. And instead, he decided to stick here in Arizona. He had a ton of leverage in that situation. Sure. Torey Lovullo, I mean, if Torey Lovullo hit the open market, I do think he would be a very highly sought after manager. So I think he has a decent amount of leverage here as well. But there's also the fact that, 2 years ago, Torey Lovullo's team lost 110 games, a situation that, managers don't often see the other side of situations like that. Yeah, so
that's true.
Maybe the D-backs want to see, just a little bit more, before they would make like a macro level offer to Torey Lovullo, make him a Diamondback through 2035 or something.
Get us to the playoffs for 2 more seasons consecutively,
sure.
Or have another nice run like this or something like that, right? I mean, that's the kind of stuff that makes you believe that you've solidified the right guy for the job, and that at times when you did have that 110 loss season, it was more about the roster you gave him.
Yeah. Ultimately, They determined that wasn't really Torey's fault, and I think that makes sense. That was the right call.
But that's what makes him so special, right? Like what you said, the fact that Torey was able to go from having such instant success in his career as a manager here with the Diamondbacks, getting us to a point that we didn't think we were going to see that quickly, to having, excuse me, one of the worst seasons in team history, to back here where we once again are surprised at how quickly we got back to essentially the promised land. I mean, you can't ask for anything more than getting the team to the World Series besides winning it. And I mean, even that is something I think that absolutely needs to be applauded, considering this year's team was not that team. We're going to have a lot of discussions, obviously, about Torey Lovullo here in the future and his place in Diamondbacks history. But I think there's something to be said when you look at the Diamondbacks 2 World Series teams. One of these things is not like the other.
Yes.
One had a tremendous amount of money spent on it and absolutely should have been where they were at, even though they were still underdogs. And this one that made it this past season that, I mean, absolutely, probably didn't belong. They had no business making as far as they did, and they still did. But I think the one thing here is we do have a very important update, breaking news, if you will, Jesse. I know I haven't cleared this with you, but Torey Lovullo, for those of you that were worried about him, he is okay. According to his family, he has come out of the tent. He has stopped sucking his thumb. And our friends at Cold Stone sent him some ice cream. You
don't know which one to eat?
See? Look at that. I mean, he's still not happy, right? That's the man of a man who's still not happy.
But he's starting to get over it.
But he's starting to get over it. And what better way than with ice cream? Am I wrong? I mean, I'm surprised. You don't look like he didn't just gather it up and then take it back into the tent, which is a good sign, right? But of course, that's Torey. Torey's a great guy, and we're just happy to know that he's doing better. He doesn't deserve to be sulking that much, because this man, much like all of us as fans, should hold their head high. But I'm still mad about this snub for Manager of the Year award. Didn't expect him to win it. I don't know if that was right.
Yeah, and I don't know who's going to win it, honestly. Yeah. Out of the 3 finalists, I mean, I think Skip Schumacher may be the best story again, sure, with the Marlins in that turnaround, but Craig Counsell's Craig Counsell. Brian Snitker, I mean, the Braves were pretty good this year. I don't necessarily see where he fits into the conversation, but I don't think it'd be egregious if he was chosen either. So yeah, it's a terrible award, Derek. It's what I said before. There's no way for us to accurately pick this award year after year. But Torey deserves a lot of credit for where the Diamondbacks were able to go this year, and it's unfortunate that he's not getting that.
We have an award that does matter, though, and that is one that we are pretty sure who's going to win it. It's not a toss-up like that Manager of the Year. Your machine, Corbin Carroll, is one of 3 finalists for the National League Rookie of the Year, and one of the other 2 finalists infuriates Damon beyond control. But I don't know if I don't know if we need to address that. Of course, Corbin Carroll, to the surprise of nobody, seems to be an absolute shoo-in for this award. Also nominated for Silver Slugger, which, as we talked about, doesn't seem so cut and dry as far as that goes, because again, doesn't take into account his body of work offensively. And I think that the Rookie of the Year and the records he set this year are going to make that a lock for him.
Yeah, Juan Soto, I still think might be a bit of a problem for him in the Silver Slugger race. But yeah, he's going to win the Rookie of the Year. We've known it for 4 months. I mean, it's felt pretty inevitable for a long time.
Right when he started getting to that neighborhood of the 50 stolen bases and the 25 home runs, it was like, oh yeah, if he gets close to this. But
there was a period of time, like July into August, during that terrible stretch that you touched on earlier, where Corbin Carroll was really struggling offensively, and Matt McLain, who was still healthy at the time, was really cruising. And I think at the time it was like, okay, maybe this isn't, quite locked up just yet. Maybe Matt McLain still has an opportunity to come in and snatch this award away. Kodai Senga was outstanding in the second half. He just didn't quite get off to the start that I think he needed to in order to really have a shot when it was all said and done.
Bit difficult for pitchers to win the Rookie of the Year as well.
Yeah, right? there's also that. I still think Spencer Strider probably should have won last year. But Corbin Carroll is going to win this award, and he deserves it. And it's about all I have to say about that.
That's all there is.
It's pretty clear.
I mean, there's we don't need to throw stats at you about that. You already know. You've been watching him all season long. But surprising, Zach Gallen was announced as a National League Cy Young finalist, which, again, might show a bit about how early the voters maybe set in mind that they're going to vote for somebody. I'm not sure exactly. I'm not taking anything away from Zach Gallen. I'm just saying after that last start, I believe, there in September, I think it was September, when he pitched against the Cubs and had that incredible outing. He didn't really have, great outings. And as they progressed, we saw more and more him losing that grip on being a part of that first place, discussion. But when you look at the guys that are there, Blake Snell just seems like an absolute lock, as much of a lock as Corbin Carroll is for the Rookie of the Year, in my opinion.
Yeah, I was asked on the radio this morning, what % chance does Zach Gallen have to win this award? And I kind of have to say 0. I think I said 1.
Yeah. That was your chance of winning your fantasy football game after Sunday night, right? Like 1%.
Wow. Yeah. Thanks for that.
I think that's what I remember.
Oh my gosh. I didn't even play you. Why do you
I don't know. I'm just because I'm talking trash. They really call my team a fraud. I'm talking trash about all of you from now on. You're all under attack.
But yeah, Zach Gallen is not going to win the award. Blake Snell is going to win the Cy Young Award. Even though, he led the league in walks and his whip is like 1.2, and it's not quite as pretty. His stat line is what we're used to seeing from a Cy Young winner. But when your ERA is a full run lower than the other 2 finalists, that's probably it right there. And that's what this comes down to. Blake Snell, I think, finished with a 2.25, something like that. Zach Gallen at 3.47. I think maybe you were a little surprised that Justin Steele wasn't in this conversation.
I was a little surprised.
We talked about this a little bit yesterday, which I get that. I 3.06 ERA there. He had a 16-5 record, was obviously a really big part of why the Cubs were able to do what they did this year, kind of turning things around. I guess it comes down to volume, maybe. Zach Gallen threw 210 innings. Justin Steele, 173 and a third. He missed a little bit of time with injury. So I think they kind of could have gone either way there. I don't think it would have been egregious if Justin Steele had been in that spot instead of Zach Gallen, but I don't think it's a huge mistake that Zach Gallen is in there instead of Justin Steele, even though he didn't quite have the finish to the year that I'm sure he would have wanted.
Is it a resume item to be a finalist? Like, are you putting that like as a player as part of your contract negotiations, arbitrations, all that kind of stuff?
I'm not necessarily like being a finalist exactly, but where you finish in the voting is that. I mean, that plays into contracts all the time. Like if you finish 3rd or 4th or whatever. Zach Gallen is going to, in all likelihood, finish in the top 5 once again, just as he did last year. And he will be, it's kind of interesting. If you look at everyone who finished top 5 last year with Zach Gallen, none of them are repeating that this season.
Yeah.
Aaron Nola had a bit of a rough year. Sandy Alcantara had a rough year. There's some other guys in there as well. So Zach Gallen is the only National League pitcher who's going to go back to back with top 5 Cy Young finishes, and certainly something to be said for that.
He's an impressive guy, and he definitely gave the Diamondbacks a chance to win there in his final start of the year in the World Series, which still just sounds like a crazy sentence to be saying out loud. But anyway, we thank you guys, of course, so much for being here. If you guys have not subscribed to the PHNX Sports YouTube channel, do so now. Sign up for notifications. That way you don't miss when any of our wonderful shows go live. Of course, if you're listening on the audio podcasting side, we appreciate you guys as well. Please subscribe there. 5-star review that doesn't judge me drinking beers and hosting the show would be much appreciated. But if you feel I deserve the scolding, I will also take that too. Leave us a like, though. We always appreciate you guys being here, dropping that like. I think Gabby has taken the winter off, but he'll be back here soon to drop us a like. Big shout out to our friends at Hero Bread. Like I said, I consumed entirely too much other bread that wasn't Hero Bread this weekend, and I'm still regretting it because Hero Bread is so incredibly healthy and has so many different options that you could customize your nutritional needs that I really have no business spending my time eating other bread. They make sliced breads, buns, and tortillas, and they're all available on hero.co and Amazon. And of course, like I said, they give you the opportunity to not only have delicious, soft, and fluffy bread that's great to eat, but also it's high in fiber, has ultra low net carbs, 0 sugar, protein per serving, fewer calories than the national leading brand. They basically make an option for you depending on whatever you specifically need for your dietary needs. They also have a low carb option to fit your lifestyle or dietary constraints you might have in regards to that. Founder Cole Glass baked 100 muffins per day before he found the perfect blend that fit his allergy constraints. And I need video of that because that seems like right out of an 80s movie montage of him just muffins everywhere all the time.
Oh, absolutely.
Where were those muffins going to? I mean, I need to know. There's so many more answers that are brought up by that story. But one thing I do know is that Hero does make some incredible bread that is perfect for all of your dietary needs. So right now, Hero Bread is offering listeners 10% off their first order. Just go to hero.co and use code PHNX to save on Hero Bread today. That's HERO.co to save 10% today. Also, I know Jesse is still in the middle of getting back to his home and learning where his home is and what things he does and doesn't need to do about his home because he hasn't been living there for basically the last 2 months. So, but I do know that he has been checking out some flooring options out there. And if you are doing the same, make sure to check out Empire Today. They keep shopping for floors simple with a curated product selection. They will let you shop at home. That's the biggest thing. They use professional installers that they will come and advise you on everything you need. You can also check out the incredible options they have, including their virtual floor designer, which is a great way to see how any new floor will look in any space. It's easy. You just have to snap a picture and instantly you can kind of see how the floor is going to look in there. Shopping for floors can be frustrating, especially at big box stores. So let the Empire Today crew find your specific needs. And they also service their own warranties. I've talked about that before, but it's a big deal. If an issue does arise, you want to be able to track down the people and not have to go to a manufacturer or anything like that. So check out Empire Today. You can schedule a free in-home estimate right now. All listeners will receive a $350 off discount when they use promo code PHNX. Restrictions do apply. See empiretoday.com/PHNX for details. Well, it is that time of year. We are getting into free agent frenzy time. And when I say that, I mean, you come out of the World Series. When you make it this far, we're told, we don't really know, this is new to us, that it's immediately free agency season, which just seems crazy. I have had one nap since the World Series. Not enough naps, but I will not sleep on free agency season because this is going to be very important for the Arizona Diamondbacks. How they upgrade from their current free agents that are leaving this team. By the way, which seems very much like a lock now for Lourdes Gurriel after we saw some of his Instagram posts and his replies to his teammates. How can they upgrade and make this team better, continue on this impressive path that they set forth in this year's postseason?
Yeah, so I mean, there's a lot of different guys for us to talk about, and we'll kind of gradually work through them. I know we talked about a bunch of random guys, especially on the starting pitching front in our show yesterday. But today, I want to talk about someone who I don't think we've mentioned at all to this point on the show, and that would be Jorge Soler.
Give him to me. Give him to me, Jesse.
A guy who I remember when we were doing our research at the trade deadline, trying to figure out who would make the most sense for the Diamondbacks to pursue. They kind of needed like a right-handed power bat, sort of, right? I mean, yeah. I guess that's sort of what Tommy Pham wound up being for the Diamondbacks. He didn't quite have the numbers that Jorge Soler did at the time. But it basically, I mean, at the time, we didn't talk about him because Jorge Soler played for the Marlins. And
Correct.
The Marlins much to the surprise of a lot of people, were very much in the thick of the race at that point and did not seem to be selling at the trade deadline. Hence, Jorge Soler was not available. But now he is available. He turned down, he had a player option that he declined for, I think it might have been the next 2 seasons, not just 2024. And now he hits the open market and is a free agent. And the Diamondbacks, we talked about it yesterday, could afford to, add some thump into the middle of their lineup if they're able to do so. And Jorge Soler could be that guy.
Give me that, as Connor Mormon says, that Soler power. We know that's energy efficient for sure. And man, what the Diamondbacks what they could use that power bat that, when Christian Walker, for instance, disappears like he did in the postseason, just having a second power bat. 'Cause it really felt like, like you said, we did get some power from a couple of guys. Corbin flexed his power this season. Lourdes did. But for the most part, we had a bunch of guys at times, including Cattell, who were able to get on base, but just never having that big offensive threat, and not only that, but just like, again, that guy that teams, have to pitch around, because every single time he's at the dish, there's a chance of him going yard, right? I mean, it just brings a completely different dynamic to this lineup right now that they don't really have. I mean, again, I don't mean to take anything away from Seawalk, because he absolutely was that guy at times, but especially when he kind of slumps like he does, teams aren't exactly pitching around him.
In the postseason, I think I heard this on Jason Stark's show yesterday. Teams that out-homered their opponents went 25-4 in the playoffs. Homers just really matter, especially at that point in the season and during the regular season too. If the D-backs, like we said yesterday, if the D-backs don't bring back the 24 home runs they're losing from Lourdes Gurriel Jr., you have to find a way to replace that in some way. And I think Jorge Soler could make a lot of sense. If we look at some of his numbers from last season, he hit 250, 341, 512. An 853 OPS altogether, 36 home runs, 75 RBI.
Bring that here.
There's a lot of value there for a guy who defensively, I don't know if you want Jorge Soler playing in the outfield. Similar situation to what we talked about yesterday with Justin Turner and third base. Soler did play a little bit of right field. I think it was 32 games last year for the Marlins, -5 defensive runs saved, -3 outs above average. Not good numbers there. Oh. You probably don't want him to play in the outfield unless you absolutely have to.
His WAR would probably be much higher here if it wasn't for his defense.
Absolutely. And that's why I don't think that Jorge Soler, for as good as 36 homers and an 853 OPS sound, I don't think Jorge Soler is like a total bank-breaking sort of a guy.
Yeah.
I just saw MLB Trade Rumors just came out with their predictions for free agent contracts. They have Soler at 3 years, $45 million, which I think might be a touch high. I could maybe see Soler signing for a little bit less than that, given some of the defensive limitations and some of the inconsistencies throughout his career. If the D-backs are able to do that, it could make a lot of sense for them. I think he had a 126 WRC plus this past season. There are only 2 free agents this offseason who were qualifying players who had a higher WRC plus in the regular season in 2023. Those 2 guys are Cody Bellinger and Shohei Ohtani. After those 2 guys, Jorge Soler had the next best the next best season. So yeah, I think it makes a lot of sense. You wouldn't want to do it with Justin Turner probably. It would have to be an either or, because again, you don't really want these guys playing defense.
And I am not going to be an old guy attacking old guys, but I mean, if you are going to throw as much money as Justin Turner sounds like he's going to demand on the market, I mean, I would much rather pursue a 31-year-old, that has the accolades that Soler has, right? Like, this goes beyond his numbers. The man is a 2-time champion with 2 different franchises, right? That experience is fairly valuable to a young team now that's trying to get back there. His power numbers are incredible, but he was also a World Series MVP for one of those World Series. So like, his value fluctuates there depending on based on a lot of that stuff. But again, I think if you are going to open up the checkbook and pay not an insubstantial amount of money for someone, that might be the guy. This would be his 5th team if he did whatever team he joins here. So I mean, he's kind of a journeyman. He might not be looking for a long-term big deal at this point. So that might also fit the Diamondbacks' current plan of trying to maybe not get someone for over 5 years, but someone for
Yeah.
2 or 3.
Yeah, I think it would be, 345 is probably a pretty reasonable starting point. I mentioned I think it could be a little bit less, probably not a lot less. There's a reason that he opted out of what he had left with the Marlins and is hitting the open market and sort of betting on himself.
He does want that big contract probably, right?
But
I guess.
Yeah, but I mean, you look at like his 2022 season with the Marlins, he played 72 games. He had a couple of different pretty significant injuries that were hindering him, and he had a 695 OPS. So he's the kind of guy who's still relatively young, especially compared to a Justin Turner.
Yeah.
But the fact that his track record is not particular, there's not a whole lot of consistency there, that in some ways could work in the Diamondbacks' favor and making Jorge Soler a much more affordable player than he otherwise would be. So yeah, I think it could make a lot of sense for the Diamondbacks. Again, it's not Turner and Soler and JD Martinez. Like you only have one DH at a time. Well, but these are all guys that would make some sense for them.
And I mean, really, it's just about going out and acquiring that guy. I mean, I'm not going to be mad about Justin Turner because I think he can help this team win baseball games. Not to mention the fact that, like, I don't know, that man does know the Dodgers organization and Dave Roberts quite a bit. So there's a strategical advantage to having him back here in the NL West, right? But I mean, yeah, I think as long as they address it in some way, I still think starting pitching absolutely needs to be the main focus. And that if that involves spending less money on a DH, that would be the route that I would prefer they go. I think offensively they could figure some things out, but right now as it stands, this team needs a starting pitcher, and they need to try to solidify one that's going to be an upgrade from everything they have, and bring them. Bring them some success here in the starting rotation. I know there's been talk about Corbin Burns. Someone asked me about that, about maybe trading for Corbin Burns.
Interesting.
I mean, I don't.
One more year for as much as that's going to cost.
It's going to cost you so much in trade to get back. I'm not interested in it, but we will have much more on, of course, free agency as things develop for this team. And
let me ask you this real quick.
Please go ahead.
If it was, I think MLB Trade Rumors has Justin Turner at 1 year, $16 million. Or Jorge Soler at 3 and 45. If those are the two options, you have to pick one of the two.
I'm taking Jorge Soler all day.
Yeah,
easy.
Yeah, easy.
Okay.
There's no question about that. Yeah,
there's a little bit more risk there because it's a 3-year deal.
Correct.
Right. It's not Justin Turner is like, all right, if it doesn't work out great, there's not a whole lot of risk here because it's just a 1-year contract. But yeah, I mean, Jorge Soler was a better hitter last year, right? There's more power in his bat than there is in Justin Turner's at this stage. And Justin Turner, if it was 1 and 16, that would actually be a higher contract value for next season than Jorge Soler. If it was 3 and 45, he'd be making $15 million a year, and Justin Turner 16 seems a little bit high to me for just one season, but. I don't know. This is the game we play with free agency every year, right? Where everything seems super high, and it's like, all right, well, that's just kind of what the market is now. So get used to it.
I just, if I'm being honest, I don't want the turnover anymore. I know we don't really want to commit to anybody, but I mean, I also think Jorge Soler isn't a guy that you're risking anything on. He's kind of in the prime of his career at this point, at age 31. You could argue. Yeah. You could say that so far in his career, there's been some injuries. He's had a couple of seasons where he didn't play that many games, but still last year at DH for Miami, he played 137 games. So I think that like bringing a guy that could come into the system and not just be here for 1 year, that can kind of learn Joe Mather's system and kind of become a part of this team a bit more than just being here for a short amount of time, I think that could be a little bit more valuable. I love Lourdes. I would love for Lourdes to stay around. It's just, I feel so weirdly, like, honestly, in between. Like, I'm like, it doesn't make any sense for him to stick around.
MLB Trade Rumors has Lourdes at 4 and 54. So
that seems pretty high.
No, thank you.
That's pretty high.
That's pretty.
And like I said,
high.
It makes sense. He's a World Series. He has to right now. Now is when his stock is never going to be higher coming off an All-Star season, coming off of a World Series appearance. Like at this point in his career, it's hard to imagine that he's ever going to have like a better list of accolades for that resume I was talking about earlier when it comes to those contract negotiations.
Okay, follow-up question.
Go. Let's go. I'm ready.
So I don't think this is the reality. But if it was Lourdes at 345 or Soler at 3 and 45, which of those two guys would you rather?
That's
have?
hard. That's hard.
I think that the market will have Lourdes valued higher than Jorge Soler. So I don't think this is a super realistic situation.
Mostly because of his defense, right? And again, he had one of the highest defensive run save for a left fielder, I think, in the league. So
he had the highest. Yeah.
Yeah, that's considerable, right? But you also have to take into consideration that we know how streaky Lourdes was, and there's a lot of times where, I don't know. Everybody on this team disappeared at times, so I can't act like he's the only one. But
Lourdes is exceptionally streaky. He kind of always has been, and he was very much that for the Diamondbacks this year, right? Like April, he was kind of just okay-ish, not really that great. Yeah. And then May, Lourdes Gurriel was the best hitter on the planet, basically. Mm-hmm. And then he had a couple months where he didn't hit much, and then he kind of figured it out a little bit toward the end. That's sort of who Lourdes is.
Yeah.
Have you guys seen Jorge Soler's Baseball Savant page? It's hot.
There's a lot of red. Yeah, there's a lot of red there.
There's a lot of red on there. I might be taking Soler myself there in that deal, but of course, we just want people to be happy. We want them to be in their homes. Jesse's in their home. We want to come here, live here for a couple of years. Don't just fly away like we're losing all these guys we had just for 1 year. But speaking of homes, I want to say I'm very happy. I saw what an apartment cost one of my friends this weekend, and it once again reassured me that owning a home was the greatest decision I've ever made.
Yeah.
And I want to thank our friends at Desert Financial Credit Union for making that possible for me. For more than 84 years, Desert Financial has been Arizona's largest, most trusted local credit union. It was my first bank. It was my first mortgage. And they are dedicated to creating exceptional experiences by giving back to the community and providing financial solutions that make lives better. So you can look to Desert Financial for checking and savings accounts, mortgages, loans, credit cards, investment options, and more. Everything, all of your financial needs. Join a credit union that is committed to giving back to the community and sharing success with its members. So you can open a free checking account online and get $200 in bonuses right now. Get started by visiting desertfinancial.com/200. Just get down on that, get some free money, and of course, get yourself with a trusted financial institution. It's very important. I know at times people don't seem to have your best interests in mind when you go to like your standard bank. So that's very important because we trust those people and make sure, of course, to trust Desert Financial Credit Union. They have your best interests in mind. Also, we are very excited, of course, for football, college basketball back, right?
Yeah.
Jesse's a big college basketball guy. Azusa Pacific?
No, I'm not.
How are they going to do this year? Are they going to be in the tournament? What are we doing?
Yeah, they're Division II.
Oh, damn it! All right, well, that's
a different situation. They are good though. They're usually pretty formidable. But yeah, we don't
formidable.
We don't have any basketball players that have come out of Azusa Pacific the same way that Stephen Vogt came out of Azusa Pacific.
Yeah, I know you. I just wanted to give you another opportunity to talk about Stephen Vogt.
Yeah, if you ever mention Azusa Pacific, I'm going to go right to talking about Stephen Vogt. But,
well, this is the kind of fun you can have. And make sure, of course, no matter what college you root for, no matter what person that's a manager you root for, you get down on the BetMGM Sportsbook app and you wager through their mobile application. If you sign up and use our code of PHNX, you'll get yourself some free bonus bets, $200 in bonus bets. In fact, regardless of your wager's outcome, all you have to do is download the app using iOS or Android, or you can go to their website at betmgm.com. Sign up with our code of PHNX. That's the important part. Once you sign up and deposit at least $10 into your newly created account, you can bet that amount or more on a standard odds bet price. Once you have made a qualifying bet, you will receive $200 in bonus bets regardless of the outcome of your wager. Of course, sign up today. Get ready for this weekend for football through BetMGM. Use bonus code PHNX. Again, place your first BetMGM Sportsbook wager through their Sportsbook mobile application of at least $10. You will receive $200 instantly in additional winnings regardless of your wager's outcome. Check out the show notes for full details. And now listen to Shane talk about the disclaimer.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Colorado, D.C., Illinois, Indiana, Kansas, Louisiana, Maryland, Mississippi, New Jersey, Nevada, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Tennessee, Virginia, West Virginia, Wyoming. Call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369 New York. Call 1-800-327-5050 Massachusetts. 21 plus to wager. Please gamble responsibly. Call 1-800-NEXT-STEP Arizona. 1-800-BETS-OFF Iowa. 1-800-270-7117 for confidential help Michigan. 1-800-981-0023 Puerto Rico in partnership with Kansas Crossing Casino and Hotel. Visit BetMGM.com for terms and conditions. U.S. promotional offers not available in D.C., New York, or Ontario.
Ontario.
I missed it that time.
Yeah, you missed it that time. I said it to both of you. Well, we are very excited to be joined by our den mother, Crys Melton. And I know first of all, we always thank you on the show, but we get to thank you here in person for all of your wonderful support and being, I think, diehard number one. I'm not sure. Is that 00001 on our membership card?
We do have a ranking system.
We do.
The diehards.
Yeah. Oh, don't tell them about that, Jesse. That's an internal document only. That's confidential. But of course, for those of you that may not know, Crys at one point towards the end of the regular season at an Arizona Diamondbacks game lost a personalized jersey that was very special to her, very special to me, to all of us. But of course, it was a present from Mom, Marley.
So, and I actually asked
Come on
Derek,
in. There's a microphone.
I asked Derek if I could come and just tell the story because everyone has been asking since I said I found the jersey, what happened. And the reason that I got it back is in large part due to PHNX and the diehards, which I'll explain in a moment. So I lost my jersey on the last day of the regular season. I immediately went to social media, be like, hey, I need to find this jersey. My mom gave it to me. It's irreplaceable. They don't even make them anymore.
It became an absolute an imperative for the D-backs community to try to find this jersey and get it back to you.
Yes, it did.
I mean, including the employees actually at the D-backs. They were tremendous. The jersey that I'm wearing now, which is actually the only jersey that I will wear, is one that was personally handed to me by Derek Hall about 2.5 hours before first pitch when we swept the Dodgers out of there.
Let's go.
Let's
go.
So that was very exciting that he took that time, but they wanted me to have a jersey to wear. It's the same basic kind of colors as my jersey. And then obviously
without the very important snakeskin gradient pattern on it, of course, that was a staple of the Diamondbacks jerseys at that point.
Controversial.
Yeah.
Check out that ranking I got of the jerseys. Jesse's still furious that it does so well.
So then things just kind of like escalated, obviously, with the postseason, and I would be walking around with the jersey that I have on, and people would be like, on the concourse, did you find your jersey? Did you find your jersey? Like people I'd never seen, people
really?
I'd never met.
Wow.
Yeah. Like walking, because I would park at the Arizona Center. The parking was a lot cheaper. And then walk over to the ballpark, and every single time, at least 2 or 3 people that I've never seen before in my life would be like, did you find your jersey yet? Like,
this is what happens when you're on the local news talking about this stuff.
I was wondering what that search helicopter is.
Yes, I told you.
But that wouldn't have happened. I mean, obviously, I sit in my corner of Twitter. I refuse to call it anything else. And, that's my sports hub of the world. And so, I asked for help, for people to find it. And it was mainly the diehards and the employees of PHNX that reposted it everywhere. And that's how Channel 12 and Arizona Family saw it. And then from there, both of those networks interviewed me about it originally. And then they were there when Derek, gave this to me.
Not me, the other Derek.
Derek Hall, just that guy.
Guy?
Yeah, he does add letters.
So many R's.
So anyway, I get a message that I did not notice on October 27th, a Facebook message. And I didn't see it. It was a message request. So that was kind of weird because of my work and stuff like that, I usually pick up on those types of things. I got another message on November 1st. So it was turned out to be the last day of the season altogether, but it was going to be the last home game for the D-backs regardless. So it was exactly a month from when I lost my jersey. And I thought the messages originally were sent at the same time. And then I went back and saw that the first one had been sent on the 27th. And it said this woman had found my jersey. And I started shaking immediately. I was like, wait, you found my jersey? Because I was like still looking at it in message preview and like trying to click through things super, super quick. And then I saw that she said that she had found it. And then the next message that was sent on November 1st said that she had turned it into the team shop. So I immediately flip out and I text my rep and I was like, hey, Cole, somebody said they found my jersey and that they turned it in with all of these exclamation points. And he immediately texted me back. He's like, I have it in my hands and I won't let it out of my sight.
Let's go. Cool.
And so it's back.
There it is.
Hey.
This is the last time you'll see it, not in a frame or something.
Yeah, so it's not going to leave my house again. But also brought Mom, so you can see.
Moms.
There's Moms that matches.
I'm a fox.
So, but this lady didn't want any of the media circusy stuff, and I found out that she actually found my jersey, got my jersey the day I lost it. So
wow.
Somebody had taken it. It had fallen, I guess, and somebody had taken it and hooked it on a cement post in the right field garage.
So nobody actually like stole it. Someone who dropped it at one point.
Well,
Someone picked it up.
I thought that I probably had just dropped it. I never expected anything nefarious, but it was just crazy because
I expect nefarious stuff all the time. I think the worst of people.
Derek has been contacting the police constantly.
I've been furious
over the
about this
past
because
several
most
weeks.
importantly, I was like, who wants a jersey that claims that you're a doula on the
know,
back?
right? I'm like,
I think we need to investigate every doula in the city just to make sure none of them.
just so you know, all of the doulas in the city would have happily given it back to
I
me.
hope so.
But they, so somebody apparently found it and just like hooked it over this cement like pylon thing.
Yeah.
And this lady that works in the right field garage, her daughter saw it and was like, well, that's weird. There's a jersey over there. And apparently stuff like that normally just gets taken. So they were surprised that it was sitting there in the first place. And so then she went and saw it and saw that it was personalized and was like, man, this has to mean something to somebody. I'm going to, I'll just grab it. She was getting ready to leave and she's like, and then I'll just, get it back to her. She took it home and forgot about it. And so she went to go to another game like a couple of weeks later, like a sporting event herself, because she had put it with her jerseys and was like, oh, I really need to find who this belongs to. This is the end of the season, whatever. And so she went looking first on Instagram, didn't see anything right away. So she put it in her work's Slack. And they immediately flooded it with all of the social media that all of you guys had reposted and all of the stories. And that's how it actually ended up working its way back to me. And they got my name from that. And then that's how she found my name on Facebook to message me.
What a great person, honestly, to go through that much work to try to
so
return it. Because I actually can understand the portion where they just put it in their closet and kind of like I tried and then whatever, right? Like if this was a player jersey, there's no doubt in my mind it wouldn't have been
never seen
again. But luckily people, at least, someone probably picked it up thinking they would grab it, and then when they saw it was personalized, we're like, I'm not taking that home. That's
I
obviously
probably could have been that kind of hero for like so many people, but I'm just not considerate enough. So to all of the people whose like long lost items I found and not returned, I apologize.
It was so cool. I got to talk to her, and she was just like, I have jerseys that are special to me that I have with my kids. And when I saw your story, I just really want to make sure that you got it back. And so she let me take a picture with her. She won't let me share her name. I did tell her though, I was like, well, make sure you get your tickets because the D-backs said that they will give you. And she's like,
opening
she said
day
that
tickets?
she left her information, and I can obviously follow up with my rep and make sure that that's followed through. So she's actually looking forward to taking her kids to the game on opening day.
That's
awesome. That is how I got my jersey back. I do have it back once it goes home today. It's never leaving the house again. I have learned my lesson in a lot of ways, but I've also learned that people can be amazing. There's a lot of trash can humans, as I call them, out there, but everybody, including one of the producers here that helped me make a graphic and get it out there like late one night when I was like fumbling with my poor technology, to just that people came together. They knew this mattered to me and they were, excited, and everything from the New Jersey to getting mine back, and how excited legitimately every single person at the D-backs was that I got it back.
Yeah, it's a big deal.
And everybody else's support. I just wanted to thank you guys because I wouldn't have got it back without it.
We are happy to be a part of it. We are happy that you got it back, and maybe this is good karma. Maybe this was a little bit of magic sprinkled on the postseason run and got us where we are.
I just have visions of my mom seeing it like on the ground someplace and hanging it up like, seriously, kid, like putting it there.
Well, I definitely am. I normally say people shouldn't touch stuff, right? That's usually don't touch things. Let someone that dropped it come back and get it. But who knows what would have happened if it would have gotten run over, if it would have gone like somewhere else. So glad somebody picked it up and left it there.
We don't know where exactly it was lost. It's just somewhere at Chase Field.
Somewhere outside of Chase Field, I believe.
Somewhere outside of Chase Field.
Yeah, I think I dropped it when I was heading into security in Gate J. I don't know.
The right field parking garage.
So the right field garage is...
That was my next guess. Yeah. Darn it. I was so close.
Well, we appreciate you so much, and we appreciate that person for getting that back to you, of course. And yeah, we got lots more. I know you're going to be watching. I know you guys are going to be. Make sure to join her in the Discord lounge if you're not a diehard already, it is the best way to spend your money. You'll get that free shirt. So join us today over at gophnx.com. Of course, we are very excited to be partnered with Gila River Resorts and Casinos now. Nobody does it better than Gila River Resorts. I've talked about staycations, but I implore you, if you have never had a staycation, to take a staycation, especially.
I think I need to do that.
You need it. You need it more than anybody.
But
you've been at lots of hotels and stuff. Do you want to go staycation at a hotel?
I've been traveling all over the place. And I'm like, I feel like I need to take time off to do it locally.
Because I know you were eating at diners. I know you were getting food in the airports. But what you need is the fine dining that Gila River Resorts and Casinos has to offer. You need the luxury. They have spas, Jesse. You can go get yourself
a boys trip.
Spa action. Boys trip.
I think it's a Damon Jesse boys trip.
Yes, a little high rolling action. Let's go.
You're not invited, is what he's trying to say.
No, I heard that. I realized.
Yeah, no, I specifically said Damon and Jesse.
Yeah, it was
Bring your best suit, Jesse.
This isn't going to help the fact that me and Damon are on an inevitable crash course to fight each other. But
we'll see if Sean can fly in.
What is this? My God, that was my idea.
I'll call him after
this. That was my idea. Okay. I was the one that wanted to do the staycation.
What do you think about like Torey?
Nah, I'm out on Torey.
I'm going to go stay there by myself because they have an unprecedented level of entertainment and excitement, and I don't need these losers. I will go and have a good time, and I'll sit there and play all the slots machines.
No one will piss Derek off more than bringing Torey. That's the thing.
True. We should bring Torey just to smite Derek. I've changed my mind. It's worth it.
But I don't hate Gila River Resorts and Casinos. Of course, make sure to check out all they have to offer, including their rooftop restaurant, Prime A Shula Steakhouse, or grab a cocktail and sit by the pool, which is what I want to do, which is what Jesse needs to do. So, of course, you can do you at Gila River Resorts and Casinos. Visit play@gila.com for more details. And again, of course, you're sitting by the pool, you're going to Gila River Resorts, you're going to enjoy yourself, but you do need what? A good pair of sunglasses. And that's not just for sitting at the pool at Gila River Resorts and Casinos. That is for any time living in Arizona. And of course, Shady Rays is your place to do that. It's an independent sunglass company with a world-class product, just as good as expensive sunglasses, with an even better lost and broken replacement plan. They told us that if you lose or break your pair, even on day one, they will replace them for you, no questions asked. I enacted that plan myself. They did not, in fact, ask me any questions, except what was my shipping address. That's all they asked me. So, of course, you can shop their entire collection here in town at Kierland Commons. And if you don't love your Shady Rays, whether you buy them online or get them at Kierland Commons, you can return them for free within 30 days or exchange them for a new pair. There's no risk at all when you shop. Their team always has your back. Exclusively for our listeners, Shady Rays is giving out their best deal of the season. Go to shadyrays.com and use code PHNX for 50% off 2 or more pairs of polarized sunglasses. Try for yourself the shades rated 5 stars by over 250,000 people. Well, we thank you guys again. We thank Crys especially for joining us. We thank that mystery woman for returning her jersey. Of course, you can follow us on Twitter. We'll be back here tomorrow at 1 p.m. Jesse is going to go to the GM meetings this afternoon, I believe. So we'll have some more information back from that as well. So make sure to follow us. I'm at Cap_Caveman with a K. Jesse is at Jesse N. Friedman. Damon is dead to me, but he is still the people's producer. You can get him at Damon Dog. That's DAWG. We used to be Damon's Dogs, and that involves some barking, but we're not doing that anymore because I'm not invited on the staycation. So, of course, we thank you guys so much for your time. We appreciate you. We'll see you tomorrow back here at 1 p.m. And remember, kids, baseball is fun, but it is so much more fun when Torey Lovullo is your manager forever.
We all silly like the mayor.